Have you ever had a chance to meet a real award winner, like a real one, not the ones that you see in the movies, like a real award winner? And guess what? Actually, a marketing award winner. I didn't even know that it existed before. And today we have the chance to have ALLIE BLOYD. ALLIE
Muhammad's
BLOYD.
first language isn't English.
ALLIE BLOYD. The thing is, I've studied, we're going to talk about it, but I've studied ALLIE's Facebook ads training for a long time. So I'm super excited to have ALLIE on the show today. And ALLIE is a local marketing expert, and she's also a ClickFunnels 2 comma club winner. Not 1 comma, 2 commas. So today on Marketing Gems, we're going to have this amazing marketing expert and having this conversation about pretty much sharing some of the keys to her success. Coming up on the Marketing Gem Show.
All right, guys, thanks so much for joining. Now, this is Marketing Gems. We're doing a series called LeBeau's Legends, where we're going to be interviewing some of the notable modern marketing and business sage. I don't want to say gurus. Some people are averse to that word, but people who are really doing a great job in their industry. And even though these people are marketing experts and business experts and sales experts, we want to talk to them about the principles that they live by and their mindsets, right? Because you can learn all of these great skills and take all of the courses, but it takes a certain level of mindset in order to achieve certain levels of success. So our questioning today is going to be around ALLIE's thought processes, her philosophies and mottos and rules of thumb, best practices that she uses to be as great as she is. So here's a little bit about ALLIE. Okay, so she is a marketing expert, speaker, and podcaster, and also ClickFunnels 2 comma club award winner, as Muhammad said. And she's trained local businesses and marketers all over the world to help them succeed. She's spoken at the world's largest social media marketing conference, Social Media Marketing World, trained agency owners at Digital Marketer, and have been featured in Forbes. That's a big one. Featured in Forbes, along with some of the top marketing podcasts in the world. So it's a great honor for us to have her with us today. So we have a few questions that we're going to be asking ALLIE. And before we start, ALLIE, if you want to say anything before we get into the questions, you can go ahead.
Yeah, just happy to be here. Excited to share any value I can with the viewers today.
Absolutely. And she's so humble. Okay, so one of the questions is, you have such a great purpose, it seems, especially you can tell that in the way that you pursue training and leading others. But how did you find your purpose?
So it really started, I would say, probably when I was about 19 years old. I was always pretty creative, and I knew that I wanted to be in some type of leadership position, but I was actually going to school to be a nurse practitioner for my first 2 years of college. And then I really realized it was not the path for me, that I was not going to be happy in that type of environment. And so I took a semester off and really just tried to figure out what it was that I wanted. So I had always worked in the service industry as I was going through school. So restaurants, I was a server and a bartender, and I'd had a pretty clear idea that I did not like the corporate way of life. So some of the restaurants or bars that I worked in were corporate and others were local businesses, independently owned, and I much preferred that style. And so I did know that I wanted to do something that allowed me to have that freedom to at least create my own rules and do the things that I thought were going to be in the best interest of the business. And then I ended up just having this idea for, it was a dog clothing company. I actually had several dogs. I love dogs, and thought that this was just a really fun idea. So it actually led me to buying a graphic design program. I taught myself graphic design, and then I ended up finishing my degree in design and marketing because of how much I enjoyed that. And once I dove into that program, I really just kind of decided, this is what I want to do. I want to have some type of marketing or branding agency. I want to be able to have freedom and independence in my business, be creative, implement ideas that I think are good and that will allow me to profit or help the end consumer. And it really took me about 8 more years before I decided to actually start my business. I was working for other companies as a marketing director and still doing the things I do today. But, sometimes we just let life happen, and we have bills to pay, and we have families, and it's easy to just take the safe road. But I always knew that I was never going to be truly happy until I started a business and felt like I was living what I was supposed to be doing in my life. And so 3 years ago, I decided to just take the leap and start my business. And it has been awesome ever since. So in terms of local businesses and helping them, I've worked with them for over a decade. My parents were in real estate investing when I was younger, and I was helping out in their business. So it's something that kind of always came naturally to me. And that's really the only audience that I've ever served. So helping local business owners is a big purpose of mine that's only grown stronger every single year that I've been in business or that I've continued to work with them, because, they have a lot of challenges. They are up against big corporate brands, a lot of money, a lot of legislation actually works against them. And they also tend to be a little bit more technologically challenged. So keeping them in business and keeping communities, bright and thriving with those businesses is something I'm really passionate about.
That is awesome. So for those interns who are watching, because our interns are going to be watching, many of our future interns are going to be watching this. It sounds like you took a raw talent that you had, and you also took an interest that you had, married to those two together, and then built those up to a strength until you had the tools you needed and the courage to actually launch yourself. And so that is so valuable. I believe Dylan has a question. We can go to him if he's ready. Great answer. You have to just let him off of.
Yeah, sure. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so my question was just pretty simple. What personally motivates you in business?
There's a couple of different things. The first one is really to help the person that I am servicing, which is local business owners and also other marketers and agency owners that are working with local businesses. So kind of like I just mentioned, local businesses are the hearts of every community. Without them, we don't have the types of communities that we have today. And because of that, I'm really passionate about making sure they don't go anywhere and allowing them to, take some of these tools and strategies that most of the time they see as only being relevant or accessible to these larger companies. And then as a marketer and agency owner myself, I know the struggles that I went through growing my business and getting that confidence, building my skill set. And so that was a very natural fit to be able to help people that were in the same position that I was, years and years ago. I also, am very passionate about trying to create a better life for my family, whether that's my direct immediate family or my extended family. We all are able to do more when we have more financial resources. And so being able to give back to people in my family who need help, support people through giving them jobs, and also really be able to donate a lot more money to the causes that are close to my heart. That's something that pushes me to continue to want to grow my business, because the more I can do in my business, the more I'm able to help others as a direct result.
Thanks a lot, ALLIE.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That was pretty awesome. Thank you for sharing that, ALLIE. I'm a little curious Because as I was saying, I've watched a lot of your videos, and you are one of the only person that I've seen making marketing strategies for like kitchen knife businesses and bedroom and bathroom businesses. So that was very interesting to me. And I'm curious, what are 2 to 3 key habits that made you successful along the way?
I think the first thing was really dedicating myself to being great at marketing. A lot of times people want to start these types of businesses, but they really haven't put in the legwork to actually be great at what they do so that they can help the person who is paying them. And if you're not committed to the skills that are necessary to be great in your industry, you're ultimately going to have a really hard time succeeding. And even if you do succeed financially, you're not going to be serving the people who are working with you. And so I would not consider that to be a success. So just really a passion for continuing education. It's not something that just stops. You never stop learning. You have to continue to learn, adapt, try new things, test new things. I also think that, just personal development in general has been a really big part of that. I read a lot of books. I very much want to continue to grow as a person, not just in my business, but, with my health and my fitness and my knowledge about other topics and subjects, becoming a better leader, becoming more effective in every way of my life. So continuing to push myself outside of business is something that it is reflected in your business at the end of the day, because you often see a direct correlation between what's going on in somebody's life and then the success of their business. And so if you want to continue to grow, you have to continue to grow as a person as well. And I think the other thing probably is my faith, I would say. I mean, I have a really strong faith, and that's something that's very important to me. And I do trust in God to guide me in my decision making and in the way that I run my business. It gives me a level of integrity and ethics that sadly I don't see in everyone that is in business. And I think that people really appreciate that and recognize it. I'm also not quiet about my thoughts and feelings and beliefs. And I think people just appreciate the honesty there, and that they really don't have to guess in terms of, who I am. I just put it out there for people to see. So there's probably more, but I think those are probably the 3 that come to mind.
I totally just fell for you just now. I love that answer. Ditto, 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 ditto. We're gonna let Jennifer go next, but definitely want you to throw out what is one of the books, because you're a big reader, I'm a big reader. What is one of the books you keep recommending right now?
So The Ultimate Sales Machine is probably the book that I recommend most frequently. It's my favorite book, I think, in terms of like business and personal development, mainly because it's one of those that's never going to be outdated. Even if the tools and the strategies and things like that change, which they have since the book was written. And it has been updated, but the author has since passed away. And so there's not going to be any more updates, but these are core concepts that are never going to go out of style. And it is marketing focused, but it's also very sales focused. And without sales, business doesn't exist. And so you have to really focus on what turns cold leads into sales. And it's 12 core concepts that are easy to follow, easy to implement. So I love that book. It's a really great one, and everybody should give it a read.
I will definitely take that recommendation. Most of our interns this semester are sales. So you guys, they're listening. They're going to be looking up this book, and I just found it on YouTube. The audiobook is free, so listen to it. Definitely. Okay. All right, Jennifer, you have a question.
Yeah. Hi, ALLIE. So I know you briefly talked about this, but can you possibly go more in depth in what's the number one reason you started your business?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing was that I just always had this internal feeling that it's what I should be doing. I've typically been somebody who didn't really need a lot of direction when I was, working for other companies. I was able to take ideas and concepts and really just run with them. So I've never needed to be managed as an employee. And I just always knew that I was fully capable of creating and starting something for myself. And so just that knowledge and desire, it never went away. And when you have something that's, on your heart for over a decade, you tend to believe that it's something built into the core of your soul that you should be doing. And I think that ultimately, I knew that I was never going to be personally fulfilled if I didn't do it. And I want to be in alignment with the way I believe I should be living. And so when I was working as a marketing director, the last couple of years before I started my business, I started to feel very unaligned because I knew I was supposed to be running a business on my own, yet I wasn't doing that. And so there was a disconnect, which just drove me to finally make that decision. And then I also have a daughter. She's 4 years old. I started my business when she was 1. And I realized that I wanted to be able to spend as much time with her as I wanted to. And when you're working for somebody else, you don't always have that option. I mean, I was commuting an hour and a half every day. That was time I was not able to spend with her. I couldn't just take her to the zoo one day just because I wanted to. So I wanted to be able to have more control over my life. And I also wanted to show her that anything is possible and that if you have a dream and you have a desire, that you can make that happen. And I did have a dream and a desire, but before I started my business, I hadn't made it happen yet. And so how could I ever teach her that concept if I wasn't living it myself? So I think ultimately it's just always something that's been on my heart and on my mind. And I'm just the type of person that is someone who's very independent, and I don't need somebody to tell me what to do. I don't need somebody to push me to do better. I'll do that on my own. And because of that, I just really saw a lot of successful business owners that were, quite frankly, a lot less intelligent, a lot less driven, a lot less caring about what they did than I was. And so I knew that if these people could succeed in business, there was no reason I shouldn't take the leap and at least see what happens with it. Just understanding that not every business is going to succeed, but if I never tried, I would never know. And I had to do that if I was going to be living the life that I saw for myself.
Perfect. That is so awesome. So we're running out of time. So we have one more question for ALLIE, and we appreciate you so much for teaching our students right now, because we try to add as much value as we possibly can to enrich their experience. Colleen has a question. Colleen.
Yes. Hi, ALLIE.
Hi.
I was just wondering, how you stay so organized and what steps you take to be organized in running your own business.
Yeah, so this is something that I think is a challenge for a lot of people, and it really kind of has changed depending on the different stages that my business has gone through. So I've always tried to stay fairly organized in general. I'm a pen and paper kind of person. I make a lot of to-do lists, and ultimately I'd say that's kind of step one. I make lists. I make also priority list of those things, because a lot of times you can really feel like you're getting a lot done, but you're getting things done that are not critical to your success or your business. So making sure that you do have things written down, because you'll never remember them if you don't have them typed out or written down somewhere. I also prioritize, again, making sure that if there are 3 things I get done the next day, what are the 3 most important things that I'm going to do? Because a lot of times we overestimate what we can get done in one day, but we underestimate what we can get done in a month. So as long as you're really keeping a very clear list of priorities, then you're going to be a lot more clearly able to knock out those most important tasks. And so now I use something called a Remarkable tablet. It's basically a digital notebook that I can also send to people digitally, so that I can really stay focused in that way that works best for me. Because I've tried a lot of different project management programs, and ultimately I always revert back to my pen and my paper. And so being able to share those things with the team is important. So that's why I switched to this tablet. But I think that it's really understanding the way that you organize yourself best, because everybody's different. So just take a look at your own habits and when do you feel most organized? If I've got a lot of stuff on my mind, if I've got a lot of things and I feel disorganized, I always feel better when I write everything out and I make a list and I group them into categories and I prioritize them in order of importance. And that's what makes me feel clear and calm. And so that's what I continue to do every day, just making sure you're also not getting bogged down in the details of things that are not going to ultimately make you any more successful or, financially prosper anymore. So there is a concept called the time management matrix, and this is from the Habits of Highly Effective People, the book, and it's a really good book, but essentially there's 4 categories. And each of those categories, you're supposed to break all of your tasks down into those 4 groups. So you have things that are urgent and important. You have things that are urgent and not important, not urgent, but important, and not important and not urgent. So one of those categories, you completely do away with all of those tasks that fall into that category would be not urgent and not important. Then you have categories that you delegate to other people. You have categories like urgent and important that tend to be what you focus on most, but ultimately the not urgent and important tasks are the ones that make you grow the most. So those 2 categories are really where you're supposed to be spending the bulk of your time. And so really being able to, again, kind of prioritize things and say, is this something that anybody could do? Or is this something that only I can do? Is this something that will make me grow? Or is this something that ultimately does not matter at the end of the day? So my business personally, I try and focus on revenue producing activities. That's the whole goal, is to focus on things that produce revenue or that add value to the people that are paying me. Those are the 2 biggest things that I have to do in my business. And just, again, really staying on top of it every day, making sure that you have all of those listed out, whether it's in a computer program or in a notebook, and then also using a calendar. So my life is basically organized by my calendar. It's probably the most organized calendar of anybody I know. But it's because I block out times for things in my calendar that maybe don't have a set time they have to be done, but I put them in the calendar and commit to myself that this is the time I'm going to do it. I think the final thing in terms of organization is sometimes theming your days. And that does depend on what your business does and kind of the way it functions, but really dedicating certain days to certain types of tasks so that you can batch those together and you get a lot more done that way. And you also don't feel so scattered. You have a very clear focus for either, maybe it's half a day, you have 4 hours, and this is the 4 hours of the week that I focus on sales activities. Maybe you have another 4 hours where you focus on growth and personal development. You have another 4 that are focused on maybe it's client related activities. So if your brain is trying to think about everything all at once, people tend to get really overwhelmed, but limiting it to one topic or subject or type of task allows your brain to focus more clearly on those things. And also you save a lot of time because you're not hopping back and forth into a lot of unrelated activities, which is hard for your brain, but it's also hard for your computer a lot of times to just open different programs and open different tabs. So trying to focus on one thing with all of your mental energy for a dedicated period of time ultimately will allow you to get a lot more done in that time period. But scheduling that on a calendar is super, super effective in making sure you actually stick to that. So I know that's kind of a lot. There's, like I said, there's a lot of time management strategies that people can utilize. I do think so much of it is just personal based on the way that someone works best. But those are the things that work best for me.
Totally. This is one of the biggest problems that every business owner, whether they're marketers, especially if they're marketers or have multiple projects or businesses or that they're managing. And I like that you said it was a remarkable tablet or remarkable?
Yes, it's, remarkable. So it's
remarkable. I think I saw that and I was like, should I pull the plug? I really want that. Pull the trigger on me. I really want that.
It's been a great tool. So, I mean, just because I like to write with an actual pen,
Yes.
I can erase things, but I can also send them digitally. So that's probably the biggest change, is that before, the notebooks that I have, I save a lot of my old notebooks, but it's very difficult to find things that are important in them.
Yes.
And then sharing them with other people on your team who need to see them is difficult. So this has really kind of helped me overcome both of those things, but allows me to work in the format that is easiest and most natural for me.
Yeah, definitely sounds like it's worth the investment. I'm going to take your advice on that, because I love writing down also, but then I have to transfer all of that. So that is great. And I think that most of all, interns, students, they find it difficult for, time management, and it doesn't get easier. And then the more successful you become is the more restrictive you have to be. And you can have what you want, that you can have somewhat of a balanced life, but you have to time things. And that's, the sooner you master that and you learn how your brain works and you work with it and not against it, it's the best thing. So ALLIE, thanks so much for spending time with us this morning.
Yes, absolutely.
This is up right now, but we're going to make sure we send you the recording. And guys, I'm just so happy that we were able to have someone like this, of this caliber, on our stage, and we hope to bring you much more. Okay, go ahead, Mohammed.
Yeah, I just wanted to, for the people that don't really know ALLIE and that'll be watching the live, where can the people that want to connect or that want to learn your material like I did, where can they find you online if they just want to connect or they just need some kind of help?
Yeah, so on social media, you can find me pretty much everywhere at ALLIE BLOYD Media, or ALLIE BLOYD. I've got some really great YouTube videos that will teach you a lot about marketing and business. And then my podcast is Marketing Inc. podcast, and that's INK. So yeah, check out the podcast. Lots of great content, or just my website, alliebloydmedia.com.
Cool. All right. Thanks so much again. Guys, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on LeBeau's Legends and Marketing Gems.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys. Bye.
Thank you guys. Bye.